Hello, good morning children. Today in this video I am going to explain class 6 history 8th chapter Ashoka the emperor who gave up war part 2. In the previous video we have learned about what is an empire, what is a kingdom and how empires were different with the kingdoms and everything you have learned. Now you are going to learn the emperor and the capital city. How the administration of the empire, how the emperor has done the administration in the kingdom and what is the organization of the capital city you are going to learn. Here, Megasthenes was an ambassador who was sent to the court of Chandragupta by the Greek ruler of West Asia named Seleucus Nicator. Okay, what is the name of the Greek ruler? Greek ruler Seleucus. S-E-L-U-E-L-E-U. Okay, L-E-U-C-U-S. Seleucus Nicator. So, this Greek ruler, Seleucus Nicator, he has sent an ambassador. Who was that ambassador? Megasthenes. His ambassador was Megasthenes. He sent this Megasthenes to where? To Chandragupta Maurya. Chandragupta Maurya. Chandragupta Maurya's kingdom, empire. Megasthenes wrote an account about what he saw. Here is a part of his description. So, as Megasthenes came to Chandragupta Maurya's kingdom, he observed all the administration matters and all those things. And he has written about that administration. So, what are the main points in that book? Let's see. The occasions on which the emperor appears in public are celebrated with grand royal processions. So, only for the royal processions only the king will attend. So, the king, the emperor who attends the programs, the programs which he attends, those programs will be celebrated at the royal processions in a grand manner. The people also will participate as the emperor was coming and the people will get the chance to see the emperor. That's why they will celebrate them as royal processions. He is carried in a golden palanquin. In a golden palanquin. The palanquin also made of gold. His gods ride elephants decorated with gold and silver. So, his servants also will move on the elephants. Those elephants also decorated with gold and silver. Some of the gods carry trees on which live birds, including a flock of trained parrots, circle about the head of the emperor. So, one side, the servants carried the trees, live trees on which the different types of birds will move, and those birds also trained. They will roam on the head of the emperor. Why they were allowed? Because they were trained. They will make entertainment to the king, emperor. The king is normally surrounded by armed women. He is afraid that someone may try to kill him. So, on the surroundings of the emperor, armed women will be there. Because why those armed women? To protect the emperor, that no one will attack, no one should attack the emperor. That's why armed women should be there around the emperor. He has special servants to taste the food before he eats. Okay, before eating anything, the servant should taste the food, whether nobody has mixed any poison in that, like that. He never sleeps in the same bedroom for 2 nights. Okay, there the emperor should not sleep in the same bedroom for 2 nights. Every day he has to change his bedrooms, like that. And that is about the emperor. And what about the capital city? See. And about Patliputra, he wrote, "This is a large and beautiful city. It is surrounded by a massive wall. It has 570 towers and 64 gates." How many towers are there? 570 towers and 64 gates. And huge compound walls are there around the empire. The houses of 2 and 3 stories are built of wood and mud brick. So, in the empire, the houses were built of 2 or 3 storied houses, which are made of wood and brick, mud brick. The king's palace is also of wood and decorated with stone carvings. So, king's palace also made of wood and decorative stones were decorated. It is surrounded with gardens and enclosures for keeping birds. So, outside the garden also there, so that for the gardens and enclosures for keeping birds, some cages will be there to keep the birds also. So, that is about the emperor and the capital city. Now, Ashoka, a unique ruler. Now, this is about the kingdom, empire. Now, what about Ashoka? The lesson is about Ashoka. But now you are going to learn about this Ashoka. What is the greatness? Why you have to learn about him? Let's see. What is the specialty in this emperor? Let's see. The most famous Mauryan ruler was Ashoka. So, in the Mauryan rulers, this Ashoka was the most famous person. He was the first ruler who tried to take his message to the people through inscriptions. So, the person who wanted to send his message through inscriptions. Through inscriptions. He was the first person to send his message through inscriptions. If the messages or his orders were on the inscriptions, means the people will follow time to time. That was his idea. So he was the first person who passed his messages through inscriptions. Most of Ashoka's inscriptions were in Prakrit and were written in the Brahmi script. He used Prakrit language. Why? So that common people also can know about the messages of the emperor. That's why he used Prakrit language and Brahmi script. Next, Ashoka's war in Kalinga. Why? So that is about Ashoka and the war, Ashoka's war in Kalinga. Here the title is the emperor who gave up war. What was the war? Now you are going to Ashoka's war in Kalinga. Okay, in which war what happened in that war? You are going to see now. Kalinga is the ancient name of coastal Orissa. Okay, so Kalinga, this is the old name of Orissa, coastal Orissa. Ashoka fought a war to conquer Kalinga. So he fought it. He wanted to capture this Kalinga. That's why he fought a war. However, he was so horrified when he saw the violence and bloodshed that he decided not to fight any more wars. But in that war, he saw so many people died and the blood, so much violence was there and bloodshed that he decided not to fight any more in wars. That the blood spread into canals. That much blood flowed. That means so many people died in that war. He is the only king in the history of the world who gave up conquest after winning a war. Of course, he got success. He won the war. Then also, but after seeing those many people died, he said, I will not fight any wars. I will not fight. So he was the first person who gave up wars. Next, Ashoka's inscription describing the Kalinga war. So after this Kalinga war, he has put a inscription about that war. What was that inscription? Let's see. This is what Ashoka declared in one of his inscriptions. 8 years after becoming king, I conquered Kalinga. So, after 8 years, I became the king. After 8 years, I fought this Kalinga war. About 1.5 lakh people, that means 1.5 lakh people were died in that war. See, 1.5 lakhs people died in that war. About a lakh and a half people were captured, and more than a lakh of people were killed. So, these people were captured, and more than 1 lakh people were died, killed. This filled me with sorrow. Why? Because for his desire, for his wish, he wanted to capture this Kalinga. That only to complete, to fulfill one person's desire, why these many people have to suffer? This idea, this thought came into his mind. Whenever an independent land is conquered, lakhs of people die and many are taken prisoner. In every war, many people will die. But here, many people died. Brahmins and monks also die. But in this war, Brahmins and monks means, you know, na? Buddhist nuns. People who are kind to their relatives and friends, to their slaves and servants die or lose their loved ones. So, here many people, many relatives and friends to their slaves and servants died. So many people participated. That is why I am sad. I am sad and have decided to observe Dhamma, that is Dharma, and to teach others about it as well. So that's why I have chosen Dhamma, and I want to teach this Dhamma to others also. That he selected Dhamma and he decided to teach to others also about this Dhamma. Instead, they should try it. Oh, sorry. I believe that winning people over through Dhamma is much better than conquering them through force. So, winning the hearts of the people through Dhamma is better than in winning a war. I am inscribing this message for the future so that my son and grandson after me should not think about war. Why I have kept this inscription means, after me, my son, my grandson, nobody should go for wars. All should follow Dhamma. This is my wish. He said in his inscriptions. Who said? Ashoka said. Instead, they should try to think about how to spread Dhamma. Instead of thinking about war, they should think how to spread Dhamma among the common people. That is my wish. Then, what is this Dhamma? What was Ashoka's Dhamma? Let's see. What was Ashoka's Dhamma? Ashoka's Dhamma. This much he is believing in Dhamma. So, let's see what he wanted to teach in Dhamma. That means Dharma. Ashoka's Dhamma did not involve worship of a god or performance of a sacrifice. Here, Dhamma means not to worship to a god or performing a sacrifice. He felt that just as a father tries to teach his children, he had a duty to instruct his subjects. So, how a father teaches his children how to behave, how to think, how to act, all those, like that, a person should instruct all his subjects to others. That is Dharma. He was also inspired by the teachings of the Buddha. Okay, so here Ashoka was inspired about the teachings of Buddha, Gautam Buddha. That means he was believed in Buddhism. There were a number of problems that troubled him. People in the empire followed different religions and this sometimes led to conflict. So, in Ashoka's kingdom, many people, this was a empire. So, a vast kingdom means so many people will be there and so many cultures, so many religions will be there, different beliefs will be there. And those religions and beliefs, they led to conflict, some disputes. Animals were sacrificed. Slaves and servants were ill-treated. So, During that sacrifice or something, animals were sacrificed, and slaves and servants, they were ill treated. Why a king should be treated high? Why a servant should be treated low? Besides, there were quarrels in families and amongst neighbors. So he observed so many quarrels and amongst in families and in the neighborhood also. Ashoka felt it was his duty to solve these problems. So Ashoka, after all observing all these things, he felt that that was his duty to solve all these problems. So he appointed officials known as the Dhamma Mahamatta who went from place to place teaching people about Dhamma. So what he felt, as he felt to solve all those problems, he appointed some officials. Who were they? They were Dhamma Mahamatta. Mahamatta, to solve all the problems of the people. These people, what they will do, they will go from one place to another and hear those problems and they will solve. Besides, Ashoka got his messages inscribed on rocks and pillars, instructing his officials to read his message to those who could not read it themselves. So, Ashoka, ordered his officials, you go to place and read whatever the messages, whatever the orders passed by me, they were inscribed, they were carved on the inscriptions. You read out and you tell the people who were illiterate, who were unable to read about my message. Ashoka also sent messengers to spread ideas about Dhamma to other lands, such as Syria, Egypt, Greece, and Sri Lanka. So, he sent his officials to other countries also, such as Syria, Egypt, Sri Lanka, and Greece. Try and identify these on map 6, pages 84 and 85. He built roads, dug wells, and built rest houses. Okay, so he had done so many things. He built roads, he built houses, dug wells, and rest houses for these monks, Buddhist monks. Besides, he arranged for medical treatment for both human beings and animals. So, he constructed hospitals for the treatment of animals and human beings. That was about his ruling. Now, Ashoka's messages to his subjects. So, what was Ashoka's message? What he wanted to teach to all the people? Let's see. Ashoka's messages to the people. People perform a variety of rituals when they fall ill, when their children get married, when children are born, or when they go on a journey. So, all these are common things. When a marriage was there, we will perform some sacrifice. When a child is born, then also we will do. When we are going to pilgrimage or some other place, we will do a sacrifice. A variety of rituals we will do. A marriage is there means that also we will do. Some puja, rituals means some pujas are like that. These rituals are not useful. They were of no use. Whose opinion this one? This was the opinion of Ashoka. If instead people observe other practices, this would be more fruitful. That means in Hinduism we will do this. But if you observe others, then it will be very fruitful. What are these other practices? These are being gentle with slaves and servants. So, he said, being gentle with slaves and servants. That means he asked the people to treat all the people equally. Of course, there may be servants, there may be slaves, but they are also human beings like us. So, treat all the people equally. That's Ashoka said. Next, respecting one's elders. We should respect elders. Treating all creatures with compassion. Respect elders. treat creatures with compassion. That means we should show some concern towards the creatures. Treat creatures with compassion. Okay, next. Giving gifts to Brahmins and monks. So, they don't have. They will do so many good things to us. They don't have. They left homes and came. That's why Ashoka said, give gifts to Brahmins and monks. Because they don't have. Monks means they don't have food. They have to beg. That's why Ashoka said, give gifts to monks and Brahmins. It is both wrong to praise one's own religion or criticize another's. We should respect all religions equally. Why should we praise our religion and criticize others? That's why he said to respect all the religions equally. Each one should respect the other's religion. We should respect others' religion also. If one prizes one's own religion while criticizing another's, one is actually doing greater harm to one's own religion. If we are praising our religion and criticizing others means it is very harm to our own religion. That's why we should respect all the religions equally. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, the first Prime Minister of India, wrote his edicts, that means his instructions. Whose instructions? Ashoka's instructions. Still speak to us in a language we can understand and we can still learn much more from him. So, still his inscription, through his inscription, still he was saying to us. That's why we have to follow him. Who said these words? Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, the first Prime Minister of India. Identify the parts of Ashoka's message that you think are relevant today. So, in all these his teachings, how many things we are following, whether you are agreeing with it or not, and whether you like, and if you want to follow, you have to tick them. Okay, this was your exercise. Okay, children, I hope you understood the content. So, this was the lesson, Ashoka, the emperor who gave up war. I hope you understood the content. Thank you. Have a nice day.